views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
And then we expand on them with I'll finish off the change by buying gum. Pardon? What? And it took me a while to decipher what he was saying. I came up with we can get better at what we're weak at, and we can even get better at what we're strong at. What makes communication healthy or effective? And Welcome to this edition of What Matters, and I'm your host, Erica Lita, and today we are going to talk about body image. How do you feel about your body? So I'm going to start off today with the men because I know that you guys are usually left out. And what was very interesting as I researched this topic is I realized that you guys also deal with a lot of body image issues. So I do wish that you guys do call in, type in your comments. You're here live with me on Facebook or on YouTube. So you can type in your comments and there she is. See, Selena's just awesome. The number's right there. So if you have any comments or feedback that you'd like to give on this topic, I would love to hear from you. So let's get right into it. Body image. You know me, I start with definitions always. We have to know what we're talking about. So body image is the perception that a person has of their physical self and the thoughts and feelings that result from that perception. These feelings can be positive, negative, or both, and are influenced by individual and environmental factors. So that is the definition, the clinical definition of body image. So how do you think, feel, and act about your body? This is what we're going to go through today and some of the issues that we face. Now, obviously, because I'm based in North America, I'm speaking from a very North American point of view, and a lot of the images that you'll see, especially in the comparisons, are really based on kind of like a pop culture. So what you'll see is that it's idealized to definitely has very little to do with ethnic people, but some of the comparisons are throughout the world. So as we go through, just keep that in mind that, yes, I know that culturally, beauty is very different from culture to culture, but we'll be dealing with a North American view today, a North American kind of Eurocentric view in general of what beauty is and how we view our bodies. So I'm going to give you the spoiler before we go forward. I can tell you that the cure for a poor body image is confidence. That is the cure. Now, how do you get there? That's a whole different topic. That's a whole different thing, and it's not that easy. But that is the cure for a poor body image, is to be confident. It's to learn to love yourself. Now, I know we hear this all the time, but that truly is the way to feel good about you. We'll talk about some of the other things that people do, but we'll start at the beginning. So, men, how do you feel about your bodies? This was a question that I posed on Facebook, and I was really pleased to see how many of you engaged and gave feedback on how you feel about your body. And I can tell you this, that male body positivity matters. It does matter. How we feel about ourselves dictates how we carry ourselves through the world, and also to how we treat other people and our expectations for ourselves. So it really is something that isn't discussed enough. I love the fact that it's coming up more, and today we're going to talk about it a bit more. So what are the four aspects of body image? So you've got perceptual body image. It's what you see. Affective body image, and that's what you feel about what you see. Cognitive is obviously what you think about it. And there's a difference between what you feel and what you think about something. And then there's the behavioral body image, is how you behave. So are you isolating yourself? Are you hiding in your clothes or actually in your house? Or are you flaunting it? Are you dressing in a way to compensate for insecurities? Behavioral is all about how we behave with our bodies. So as we go through this, that's something that I want you to think about. Those 4 factors. What do you see? And there is body dysmorphia, where what we see, what we perceive, is not what is actually there. So a lot of people with eating disorders will have body dysmorphia. And then I think there is some, I don't think it's a disorder necessarily, but you do have people that perceive themselves as awesome all the time. And I'm pretty sure if you could package that and sell that, most people would buy it. So we don't always see what is there. And that could be for the positive or the negative, I think, in some ways. So one of the things that we've noticed with advertising in general is there's been this massive swing towards the other side. So advertising does that, right? They present us with our most perfect selves. But what we're starting to see are more and more images of us, people, real people, everyday people. And I love this one. You are imperfect, permanently, and inevitably flawed, and you are beautiful. And that's something that I can tell you, ladies that are out there. Tell a man he's beautiful, and oh my, I love watching them blush. It is amazing. Everybody wants to be perceived as attractive. Everybody wants to be perceived as beautiful. And I love this photo too. This is for an advertising campaign for an underwear line. And as you see here, I think it's great because we actually have representations of all different body types and heights and waist widths and leg structures and skin tones. And this is what people actually look like. And I feel with all of the images that we see in advertising, all of the altered images of people who've already won the genetic lottery, what it does is it changes our perception of reality. And then we start looking at ourselves and at other people in their everyday lives and wondering why they don't look more perfect. But the images that you just saw, the reason they make me smile so much is because that is reality. That is the average man that you see day to day, whether he's in his suit or in his tracksuit. That's what's underneath. And I think that as we see these perfect images, it starts to kind of erode at our sense of self. So, what body image issues do men face? And as I said, when I started this, because I'd already done the research for the women, that's an ongoing project that I have. And so I have a lot of information. We talk about women and their body image and how the media affects them. And now we have social media. So that's looked at a lot. But I said, let's take a look at men. And what I realized is there are areas that men have, and it's not just one. Let's start at the beginning. Number 1, men and muscles, dad bods. So that's something you're hearing a lot about in the news, dad bods. And I was finding a lot of articles, I think some of them were actually satirical, saying, women prefer dad bods, and women, are not really into six packs and, wonderfully toned men. They prefer dad bods. Well, I'm here to refute something. I think that, given the choice, people are always attracted to what looks healthy. That is one of the reasons that people go to the gym. When you look at the international, the worldwide standards of beauty, the number one thing is health. When people look like they're healthy, they are attractive. So being in good shape really is something that visually notes that we are in good health. So no, you don't need abs to be fab, but very interestingly, I found a few articles talking about the self-acceptance movement. And though it is great, there is this kind of negative backlash to it, where people are not thinking, okay, you know what? Accept me exactly as I am, which we all should, but not to the detriment of your health. So we're all built and shaped differently, and we are all healthy at different weights and sizes. However, make sure that the body that you're in, you're taking care of, and you are at your optimal health. Now, optimal health to me is what you can maintain. So don't go and give up all your refined sugars all in one day because one, you will crash and burn. I've done it. And two, it's not maintainable. So find a balanced lifestyle that's good for you. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the two other big issues that men face in terms of body image. I'm not going to tell you what they are before the break, but the first one was muscles, tones. And if you can think of what the next two are, you can type them in the comments. I'll be right back after this break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. I'm your host, Erica Lita, and today we are talking about body image. So at the beginning of the show, I went over briefly what is body image, how do we perceive ourselves, and we started talking a bit about male body image. Now, the first thing that I spoke about was muscles. A big issue for men is body tone. Something we're hearing about more and more is the dad bod, which is, I would say, the average body, but often happens later in life when we're no longer playing sports and up and active. I remember transitioning from high school to college, and when the guys got cars, everybody got a little bit rounder. So our level of activity definitely does change that. Add some children and a 9 to 5 in the mix, and if you don't have a regular gym schedule, you will start seeing changes. And disclaimer, something I like to tell young people all the time. You don't start getting old at 40. That is not when it happens. It happens at about 24. You will notice things don't work the same. You're not as vibrant. You can't get up with the same speed. So don't believe the hype that it all starts to go downhill later on. You will start feeling changes in how you bounce back much earlier in life. So muscles. Can you think of another area where men's body image would be affected? And I found 3. So the first was muscles, and the next is hair. Hair is a really big thing, and this is the first factor of hair, balding. Now, that is genetic, often cannot be helped, but nowadays there are so many other ways to cover it up. So back in the day, we had really bad wigs that were called rugs because that's what they looked like. And there were some, what were they called? Hair replacement therapies. And they actually looked like you could see the plugs, and they were very almost Dr. Seuss-like. So individual hairs. But now with technology and imagination and the fusion of the two, we're seeing more and more ways that men can cover and hide their baldness. If you'd pull that picture up again, Selena, please. So here we have the picture on the right, to me, is really amazing. That looks so very natural, and I say kudos to him. And the one on the left, too, I picked that one because I thought it was really interesting. A lot of people think that when men are balding, they want back, big, thick, luxurious hair that they can do man buns with. But sometimes even just being able to fill it in and have a nice low fade that's full and not bald makes all the difference. It takes years off of your face. And again, whatever makes us confident has us behave differently. An analogy I use, and for people who grew up in my era, we're all really, really happy that there wasn't social media and phone cams, because our embarrassments aren't immortalized forever. So we had really silly outfits and really silly trends, and most of those remain in our memory or blurry pictures. All of you are going to get to see your mistakes live in HD as you get older. So that will be funny. But one of the things that I always say is I remember some of the styles that we rocked when we were teenagers, we were in our young 20s, and we felt amazing. We felt confident. We just felt so good about ourselves. And then in hindsight, when you look back, you looked quite ridiculous, but that didn't change how you felt and acted then. So confidence really is how you feel about things and not necessarily the reality. So that's the first aspect of men and hair. What would be the other thing? Beards. So beards and haircuts are the makeup for men. And here are two examples, two cute little memes that I pulled off of the internet. And the left one, don't tell me a beard and a good haircut don't have the same effect as makeup. And here, same man, one with facial hair and a haircut and one without, and you can be the judge. And on the right-hand side, we have a famous face. That would be Drake. And again, you're going to tell me that beards don't do the same thing as makeup. So facial hair, haircuts, they're another thing. But if you're a man who can't grow facial hair, this could be of issue to you. Or on the flip side of that, some men feel too hairy. And Selena, that picture of the hair removal, the guy with the, yes. So here you have, and again, it's so interesting when you stop assuming and you start doing a bit of research and looking into things, the things that other people go through. And I never thought of men being concerned with getting rid of hair in all of these different places, but it really is a thing. And depending on where in the world you are, in some places, it's not cool to have chest hair. In other places, it is. Even arms, again, depending on where you are, the look that you're going for, and genetics plays a big part. I don't know of many people who like to have hair on their back and their neck, but this is something that, again, I never considered for males, that this would be something that they stress about or consider in their day-to-day lives. So hair, so you've got the hair on your head, balding, facial hair, body hair, all of those things affect how men feel about themselves. And as I said, I've known some guys that because of genetics, quite honestly, they couldn't grow a full beard. That also is based on age. So any men out there in their 20s, early 30s, sometimes it takes a while to kick in. So that's something else to consider. But again, as I said, when I think about body image in men, I've never considered all of the things that they must go through day to day. So what would be the third thing? And if you can think of something else. So far we've had muscles, we've had hair, removal, growing, maintenance, and so forth. But the other thing would be height. This is a huge issue, and the pun is intended for men. Now, as a woman, and I am a short woman, I'm 5'2", height is really not of issue to me. The men that many women may find short, I don't, because I'm rather short myself. And height isn't a big issue for women in general. I'm actually more fascinated by tall women. I'm not intimidated by them. I don't feel inferior to them. I just appreciate watching how they move through the world. So I'm fascinated by tall women, but they don't make me feel any less than. With men, it's not quite the same thing. And because I'm looking at things from my point of view, which is from 5'2". Again, a man who's 5'8", to me, he's not short. That's half a foot taller than me. But to a woman who's 5'6", she may consider him short, especially when she puts on heels. So what I've come to find out throughout the years is this is something that is extremely important to many men. I found this chart, and these are all people, Hollywood people, and you'll see some of these people, you may even be surprised at their height. Some of the ones that stand out to me, you've got Michael B. Jordan. He's standing at 5'10". Idris and Chris are in the 5'2", 5'3" range. And so, as I said, you see here, they're kind of scaling these men. But interestingly enough, depending on the camera, you don't always see their height relative to their co-stars. But this is a really big deal for men. And if you put up the other slide, Selena, of the heights, very interestingly, European men tend to stand the tallest. So men in the Netherlands average 6 feet tall. The United States and Canada are similar, coming in at about 5'10". The shortest men in the world tend to come from the Philippines, averaging at about my height, they're taller than me, 5'3". So depending, again, genetics is a major factor in your height. And as you can see throughout the world, there are different heights for men. Some interesting facts on the left: 3 inches of height can make a $4,000 difference in pay. And when people were asked to draw a political leader, they tended to draw them taller than they actually are. So again, the perception, power. And before we go to the break, I do have to say something I've always found kind of funny is people meet me and they tell me that I photograph taller than I am. So apparently there's something about me that seems taller in pictures. I also tell people, though I stand 5'2", I'm 6'6" in attitude, so that also may be why I seem a little bit taller. But I do know for men, and I'd love for you to chime in, because I haven't met many men who seem very unaffected by height, and I do see that other men tend to pick on men depending on their heights. And my 10-year-old has already noticed. He says, I find that there's a bias. Yes, he said bias. There's a bias on short people. So I'd love to hear the feedback on that. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a bit more about male body image, and then we're going to go over on female. I'd love to hear how you're feeling, how you're thinking. You can reach us here on TCN Network. I'll be right back after the break.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. I'm your host, Erica Lita, and today we are speaking about body image. How do you feel about the skin that you're in? We've been looking at male body image. the things, the factors that can affect how men feel about themselves. And one of the things that, again, as I said, I am guilty of this because I'm not a man. I don't think of what they go through day to day. And it is just as hard to be Ken as it is to be Barbie. And I actually wish, upon seeing this slide, that I had pulled up the picture of the male Ken. There's 2 or 3 of them in the United States that have done lots of plastic surgery to look like the Ken doll, to match a few women around the world who've actually done massive surgeries as well to look like Barbie. I really wish I had included that. Maybe I'll put it up on my site. So, male body image. We've got height, we've got hair, we have muscles, and all of these are to fit into ideals. What people feel are the ideal body shape. And that changes from country to country and era to era. As times change, as location change, as trends change, the ideal body, the ideal man and the ideal woman, that changes. So the thing is that we're born with one body and we don't change. So in order to try to fit into this is very difficult. So now we're going to switch over to ladies, women. And again, just like the male underwear ad that I showed, we're seeing more and more images like this. A few, I'd say maybe 2 decades ago, Dove started a campaign about beauty and true beauty, because what we were seeing were a lot of the images of the Victoria's Secrets models and many, the majority of women feeling bad about themselves after viewing these images because most women don't look like them. And something that I love to tell young women is, interestingly enough, they don't even look like them. So a lot of the images that we're exposed to, again, they are people who've won the genetic lottery, and then they are attended to by some of the masters of the industry, so masters of illusion in makeup and clothing and lighting. And then after all of that, their images are photoshopped. And those are the things that we look at and compare ourselves to and constantly feel that we come up short. So the ideal shape through the ages. This next slide shows you, and I only did the last 3 decades, this is the ideal shape and how it goes in and out of style. But you have to remember that you are always in fashion. So in the 1990s, it was the waif, very thin, almost boyish, really no hips, preferably flat chested. Again, still in the supermodel era. So a lot of girls, these were the images that we were seeing. Social media wasn't as big. We didn't have as many social media stars. And so it was the big supermodels with the huge contracts that most young women were looking at in terms of idealizing. And in the 90s, it was the wave. Going towards 2000, if you don't know, that picture is of a pop star named Britney Spears. And the more toned but athletic, still feminine, but very toned, and no, big butts were not in. And so that was the ideal. And then swinging around to the 2010s and going on into this day, I like how they called it the bootylicious. So really exaggerated curves, really big butts, big breasts, tiny waists. That was the ideal body. Now, what's interesting about this is that our body shapes don't change. And as you saw, that was over the last 30, 40 years. And although you may be a young girl and be on the thinner side and do gain weight and get more hippie as time goes on, we're structured the way that we are. So think about the concept of your actual body parts going in and out of style and how ridiculous that is. What's very interesting for me is how the bootylicious look became so popular, because when I was growing up, that was the exact opposite. And so I was actually made fun of for my shape. I think my least favorite one was bubble butt. And then to see it come back around to this, and all of a sudden it's in style. And so growing up actually hiding my shape because I was ashamed of it, to now it being very on vogue. So here's another slide that I thought was really great. This young lady, she got some help photoshopping, and she's shown herself from decade to decade what the ideal body would be like. And what I find really interesting is if you look at the difference between the picture in the 1990s and the picture in it for 2018, by the 90s standards, the girl from 2018 would probably be considered fat, and not PHAT, but fat. And by today's standard, the other girl would be considered quote unquote skinny. But again, as I said, your body, your shape does not go in and out of style. You are forever. So one of the things that we can do, and it is difficult to do, is to stop comparing ourselves to the images that we see. Being aware and being conscious of the fact that the images we see are not real. There have been cases of celebrities who have actually sued magazines for altering their image. I remember there was a case with Madonna many years ago where she posed for the cover of a magazine, and when she saw it, she called her lawyers. They had taken out the gap out of her teeth. They had altered her skin. They had changed her, and she felt that she was unrecognizable, and it wasn't her likeness. So keep that in mind as we look at the stars, as we look at the magazines, as we look at our social media, because that has become a lot of people's ruler measurement for self-image. Something I did not include, and of course, when I'm sitting here, I do think to include it, but there was a series of photographs, and you can Google this, where Instagram models, fitness models, showed you images of themselves within seconds of each other and what it looked like between a posed picture and an unposed picture. So that just how you stand, the lighting, your clothing makes a tremendous difference on what it looks like. And we're real people. Life is not an IG post. So as you walk through the world, you will see cellulite and you will see wrinkles. And when bodies bend, they do fold. And keep in mind that for advertisements, what they do is they actually Photoshop out folds and lines. And again, for that projection of perfection, which does not exist. So what are women doing now about not having this ideal body? Plastic surgery. So plastic surgery is becoming more and more common, more and more accessible, and more desired. Years ago, plastic surgery was actually something people kept very quiet. If they got a nose job or a boob job, it was very secret. They went off on secret vacations and came back and waited till the bruising went away to pretend as though nothing had happened. Now people are very, very public about their surgeries, very proud about their surgeries, and they're doing augmentations that are so dramatic, it would be impossible to deny that they were done. A lot of this is done because, again, as I said, comparisons to celebrities. So they see people who have either won the genetic lottery or have a lot of money to alter themselves to look a certain way and then desire that too, feeling that they come up short. Plastic surgery is a very, very personal decision. I do not believe in body shaming. I do not believe in decision shaming. But something that we have to realize is that how we feel about ourselves, the thought process, how we perceive ourselves, that will not change with surgery. If you do not like yourself, new boobs, a new butt, cool sculpted abs, injected biceps will not make you love yourself more. Often what you will find with people who have had multiple surgeries is that as they change one thing, their other flaws stick out to them more. And so one of the things that I suggest is the next time you look in the mirror, one, pay attention to the conversation that you have. What are you really saying to yourself? And switch that into positive speak. So we tend to look at the body part we dislike the most. So get in front of the mirror and you say, pick apart any part. Oh, I hate my arms. My arms are this and that. I can't stand my arms. Look at my arms. And then we tend to look at them from different angles, right? On how much we dislike them. So the next time you're standing in front of the mirror, find a part that you like. Find a part that you love and concentrate on that. Find ways to accentuate it, find ways to highlight it, and pay more attention to it. And what you will find in life is that the more you pay attention to the good is the more it stands out. And the more you pay attention to the bad is the more that stands out. So that is one of the little tricks that you can do every day. And I hope you do look at yourselves every day. And we'll talk about that when we come back from the break. And give yourself a little love. Give yourself an affirmation. We'll be back with the wrap up after this break.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters. And today we are talking about body image. So I have covered male body image, a little bit about female body image. I would love to hear back from you. Some of the commentary that I did get on the post was I was very happy to see so much positivity. Many people saying that they accept themselves. And the people who said that they didn't already had a plan and were already actioning their plan. So kudos to all of you who are doing something about what you see and how you feel about what you see, because the behavior is what is important. And so as we stand in the mirror, as I was saying before the break, we need to learn to concentrate on the good. If you realize that the conversation in your head about yourself is negative, please take the time to change that conversation. Habits are hard to break. And if you've been speaking about yourself negatively to yourself for 10, 20, 30 years, it is going to be difficult to change. However, it is possible. So find that body part that you love, dig deep. It may be a dimple, it may be your smile, but find something about your fingers, whatever it is, your hair. Find that thing and love that thing. And concentrate on that thing and make that thing the best thing about you that you can. Have it stand out. So before the break, we spoke a little bit about plastic surgery, and that in and of itself can be a whole show. Lots of media reports of botched jobs, bad jobs, people going to different countries to have surgeries done much, much cheaper. Please keep in mind you often get what you pay for. And also to going to providers, because I'm not even sure some of these people are doctors, that will do procedures that licensed professionals wouldn't because they're too extreme or it's too frequent. So that is something to really consider, that if you do consider having any surgery, is your safety, your health and your safety, because you do not want to face any of the disasters or catastrophes that people have found themselves facing after some of these really low-grade surgeries. So we spoke a little bit about the ideal body through time, how that image, that ideal changes. And what, as my mother had told me a long time ago, everything in fashion tends to kind of just loop back. So the slides, they actually went back, I think, for this series as far as the 50s. And what's interesting is you had that exact cycle again. So you went from Marilyn Monroe to Twiggy, I believe it was. So the hourglass to the Gibson girl, very straight, very boyish. And so these styles, they kind of loop through time. So just remember that you yourself, you can't go out of fashion. Learn to dress your body for itself, how it really is made up. And know that some fashions and some styles and some trends are made to be admired from afar. They are not for you, and that is okay. As a short woman, there are styles that I see that are made for tall, thin women. And what I do is I just admire them on the tall, thin women that I know. So going back to body ideals, it's very interesting that what women want and what men want from themselves and from the opposite sex are often not the same. This next slide shows, again, now that was my disclaimer at the beginning of the show, that this is from a very North American, Eurocentric compilation. But on the left, you have the perfect female body according to women. And on the right, you have the perfect female body according to men. And there's also a man one, but I didn't include that. And what is interesting, and you will hear this from, if you speak to men directly, you'll hear this from them. As you see, the woman on the right is a lot thicker than the woman on the left. Women believe that they should be thinner when men seem to appreciate more meat on their bones. Another very interesting fact, hold on to your hat for this one. I have found, I've had this conversation with several different men, and this has absolutely amazed me. What is the term that they used? Tiger stripes. There are men that actually like, and I can't even get it out, that like stretch marks. They have no issues with them. They call them, some of them call them tiger stripes. There's another very cute phrase, I can't remember it now. If the gentleman who said it is out there, please type it in, and Selena will read it to me. And also even cellulite. There's even a rap song by Kendrick Lamar, and he talks about that. Stop showing me all these perfect women, like that's not real. I like what's real. So a lot of the times we are reaching for an ideal that even the people that we're looking to attract do not consider ideal. You would be surprised how much human beings really appreciate and love the human form in all of its variations, and how much and I really tend not to use this because I don't like it. It leads to so many questions, but real men love those things about real women, as women love that about women and men love that about men. So I think that we beat ourselves up far too much trying to look like people that the people we desire aren't even that enthralled by. So body dysmorphia, that again is really a deep topic, but oftentimes when we look in the mirror, what we see isn't actually what is there. And I had posted this picture earlier, and what I loved is one of my friends said, "The girl on the left is me, the camera lies." And I really loved that comment, because what she sees and how she feels is her best self. And then she says, sometimes I see pictures and I'm like, really? Nah, that's a lie. So we've all seen people that, we judge, let's be real. We all have our judgments. We've seen people that we're kind of like, well, you're just walking through the world feeling great about yourself. But when you watch how people interact with them and react to them, their confidence is infectious, because that's how people treat them, like they're beautiful and wonderful. And then we've also seen, I'm speaking of women now, that beautiful woman who does not know or appreciate her beauty and carries herself as such. And she does not have that same impact as the perhaps not so beautiful woman that carries herself with great confidence. So sometimes what is in the mirror is not what we see. And that's why earlier I alluded to the fact it could be good or it could be bad. for example, a lot of people with eating disorders, they don't see what's actually in the mirror. Also, too, when people say you grew up as a chubby kid and you lost weight as an adult, oftentimes the person continues to see the chubby kid in the mirror. They never see that new person that's there, and vice versa, where someone, has been fit most of their life, and as they start to expand, they are in a denial where they're not really seeing how out of shape or overweight they're getting. So that could happen in both ways. And that's why it's important to surround yourself by really loving people who care about you, that give you honest feedback, because sometimes we don't see ourselves the way we actually are. So make sure that all of your sources, all of your inputs onto who you are clear and are honest. So the words that we use, I touched on that at the beginning of this segment. The words that we use when we're looking in the mirror. We have a conversation going on in our heads constantly. And we stand in front of the mirror and we say things like, Selena, the slide? Your problem. So I'm fat, chubby, large, heavy, thick. And what's interesting again is what the words are. The word thick has come into style, into fashion over the last few years. And a few years ago, that would have been a insult. Also, too, something to remember, and I'm glad I thought this up, skinny. A lot of people think that telling someone that they're skinny is a compliment. I know several people, and I can tell you that when you tell them that they're skinny, it hurts just as much as looking at somebody and telling them that they're fat. So please be careful with the words you use for yourself, but also for others. It's really important. And even the compliment of, oh my goodness, you've lost so much weight. The person may have gotten Crohn's disease. The person may have been sick. The person may have been depressed. So their weight loss is not coming from a great place. So let's really be careful on the words that we use when we talk about people. And I'll leave you with this. Love yourselves. Love your bodies. Don't spend too much of your time looking at images that leave you feeling bad. And that's something you need to assess when you close your social media, your fashion blogs, your magazines. How does it leave you feeling? Are you inspired? Are you elated? Or do you now feel bad about yourself? Do you feel that something needs to be fixed? Do you feel poor of spirit or body of mind? Love yourself. And it starts with the conversation that you have in your head. I'm Erica Elita. I thank you for joining me for this edition of What Matters, and I'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, here on TCN Network.